Hello and welcome to Tech to Edge. Today I'm reviewing my camera monitors, or monitor. It's kind of like a two-in-one deal. It's the Blackmagic SmartView Duo. If there's one thing I have to say about every one of Blackmagic's products is that the industrial design and marketing and packaging is always beautifully done, and if you are looking at the SmartView Duo and aren't pitching a tent, then there's probably something wrong with you. The Duo has a very solid steel construction. It is surprisingly heavy with the two 8-inch matte finish screens embedded in the center with rack mount points on either side. On the back you have SDI video in and out for each monitor, so you can daisy chain your rack mounted devices. Ethernet in and out for if you are using or controlling these over a network, a power connector and a DB9 connector to control tele lights, which I will explain more in a second. The whole device is a little less than 1.5 inches thick and is 3 rack units tall. There's no controls or buttons on the monitor. To turn it on, you simply need to connect a signal and it will switch itself on. It doesn't just have to be a video signal either. If it is receiving a signal for the tele lights, the screen will power on as well. The screens themselves are reasonable at best. They are matte finished, unlike the glossy screens that are typical of Blackmagic's cameras, so they do work well under bright studio lighting. They are also TN panels, which is my biggest problem because at this price point it wouldn't be too hard to manufacture some IPS panels. The color accuracy is reasonable, but certainly not something you could do serious color monitoring on. And the viewing angles at first seemed atrocious. Any slight movement of the monitor would render the screens unusable. This was largely rectified once the monitor was actually rack mounted and fixed into place. I haven't had any problems no matter what angle I'm viewing the monitor is at. That said, again, at this price, IPS panels should have simply been the default option. Then again, at this price point, this is pretty much the cheapest monitor solution with SDI input. The screens can also apparently be rotated 180 degrees for optimum viewing angles, but this requires a lot of screwing around when you could really just flip the monitors in the rack. The monitors will detect the inversion and flip the image accordingly. Functionally, the monitors work well. As I said before, they aren't usable for color accurate monitoring, but they work very well for framing, especially in a situation like now where I'm recording myself. Two monitors are useful in a couple of situations, the most obvious being that if you're using two cameras, you can easily see both angles. But if you're like me and have a camera with two video outputs, you can use one screen showing the clean, full image being captured, and the second screen either showing a finished product with different frame guides such as CinemaScope, or with focus peaking, or whatever else you don't want cluttering up the full image. The tele light indicators on these monitors are freaking awesome. I love them. If you don't know what a tele light is, basically it's a red light on the front of a camera or other studio gear that lights up when the camera is live on air. Some tele equipment also includes a green light to indicate that the camera is on standby. The SmartView Duo includes a sexy full screen colored border in either red to indicate on air, green to indicate standby, and an additional blue state to indicate recording. This is so much more useful than having a tiny little red dot on the screen that I can't see if I'm recording myself from a distance. Unfortunately though, my camera, a Blackmagic Ursa, doesn't have a way of outputting a tele signal, and the SmartView Duo doesn't have a way of receiving a tele signal over SDI. Something a firmware update on both products can and should fix. In fact, all cameras should output full frame borders for recording starters on their video out. It's just so much better. I was able to work around this by creating my own converter with an Arduino that works with the camera's Lank remote control port. Basically, the camera sends the recording status to my remote control, and I simply use a splitter cable to reroute the signal to my Arduino as well, which interprets it and then activates the appropriate tele light. It's only about 10 lines of code and is very simple electronics wise as well, and should work on any camera that supports Lank. The Blackmagic SmartView software allows you to configure your SmartView monitor's brightness, contrast, and I think saturation over either USB or Ethernet. There's pretty limited functionality, but it does work. My conclusion is this. This is priced quite highly for two 8-inch TN panels. What you are paying for is SDI support and the ability to rack mount, and these are great when rack mounted, especially if you need to take them out in the field or anything like that. But a more cost-effective solution in a home studio might be to simply get an SDI to HDMI converter and use a color-accurate, consumer-grade IPS computer monitor. That said, don't discount the SmartView Duo. It certainly has its place, is cheaper than similar professional products, and delivers a good image with extra functionality that can be highly useful, though I think with a few more firmware updates, it would be capable of a bit more, such as tele over SDI. That's it for this week of Tech Dredge. Thanks for watching. Feel free to check out some of my other videos over here, and stay tuned for next week where I check out a really cool little accessory for your computer that is dirt cheap and will make your life so much easier. Have a good one.